Hello, today I'll help you learn the modern controls in Tomb Raider 4 to 6 Remastered. The guide will be split into two sections, controls for Tomb Raider 4 and 5, and then controls for Tomb Raider 6 The Angel of Darkness. Do use the chapter times below. If you are starting in order with Tomb Raider 4, maybe skip over the section of me discussing controls for Tomb Raider 6, so you don't get confused as there will be lots of differences, and then come back to the video when you eventually play Angel of Darkness. Before I begin, Tomb Raider 4 was the Dark Souls before Dark Souls. It's very unforgiving, so prepare yourself that you are going into a tense, epic horror adventure. Basically, be kind to yourself and don't beat yourself up if you need to resort to using a walkthrough. For Tomb Raider 4 and 5, remapping the controls isn't as necessary as changes have been made, but I still recommend you do it, and I'll be giving control tips assuming that you have. Let's set the modern controls. In the menu, go to Options and then Control Settings. Then change the lug button from pressing the right analog stick to R1, RB, or R. As for these additional settings, leave them as is. As for the changes we made, I will explain why in a moment, but first let me briefly explain how Tomb Raider 4 and 5 works. Like Tomb Raider 1 to 3, 4 and 5 used the same engine and in the 1990s worked off the grid system. Lara Croft's movements from her running, jumping, backflips and even rolls are designed around her environment where she is in essence on a very large chessboard. If we go over her head and I lay out this grid system, can you see how everything is perfectly symmetrical? That allows you as the player to read the environment really easily. A 2-square gap allows Lara to run and jump, even while shooting. A 3-square gap will require a bit more, with a run, a jump and a grab. It's that simple. A tuck and roll will turn Lara 180, but also 1 square tile. If you want to run and jump, you need to give her 1 square tile of a run up. And if you need to carefully do a 2-tile gap jump, don't run. Walk to the edge, then jump forward and grab. Here's one quick pro tip that's optional to learn. I know I just said Lara needs 1 square tile to do a run and jump, but if you find yourself stuck in a tight area, start walking, then immediately let go of walk and change it to a run and press jump. And Lara will do a run and jump in half a square tile. While the jumps may seem tricky to master, it actually makes platforming easier as there's no guesswork. You can easily gauge if Lara can make the jump, or if she can't. A 4-tile gap visually looks much larger than a 3-tile gap. A new move exclusive to Tomb Raider 4 to 6 is that in all 3 games, Lara can now shimmy around corners and on ladders, and will be utilised to avoid traps and reach your destination. Walking is your best friend. Press and hold square, X or Y. If you are climbing on cliffs in dangerous area, using the walk button will stop Lara from falling off a ledge. Even if you try to force her off, she won't fall with the button held down. Do note that a big change in Tomb Raider 4 and 5 compared to the earlier games is that you can no longer walk through spike pits. Walking through them in Tomb Raider 4 and 5 will now kill Lara. Modern controls have added features to help you keep Lara alive if the walk button isn't cutting it. Holding down the secondary button, mapped R2, RT or ZR, means if you accidentally run off a ledge, Lara will grab it on the way down if she can. You can often keep this button held down if you find yourself running over dangerous ledges and catwalks. If you need to climb down more carefully, you can walk to the edge, then press the walk and roll together, which is a very awkward button combination, and Lara will do a 180 turn. Then press the right trigger and she will climb down. That is pretty awkward. You can do the same thing much easier just by hurling Lara over a ledge while running and holding right trigger and she will do the same thing. When it comes to the camera, modern controls allow 360 movement, but you always need to remember that Tomb Raider was always designed to keep the camera behind Lara, and you should always keep the camera behind her at all times possible, especially while jumping. A big improvement in 4 to 6 Remastered is the lug button doesn't lock Lara's controls anymore, so you can't turn her head. With our new remapped button I made you do earlier, if you find the camera at an odd angle, simply press the right bumper R1 or R once, and the camera will reset behind Lara. Again, you only need to do it once now in this remaster. I find it's much easier to press the right bumper than pressing down on the right analog stick. Tap backwards, a staple of tank controls, is not available in modern controls, but there are workarounds and it's so much easier in 4 to 6 Remastered. A lot of fans try to point out the guns method, but those people are going to be in for a rude awakening as Tomb Raider 4 begins with a young Lara that has no guns, and even involves a platforming competition with her mentor Von Croy that will determine part of the story outcome. You want to beat that old man in the race. Another common trick you can try doing is making Lara do a spin on the spot before jumping. But thankfully we now have an incredible solution in 4 to 6 Remastered. With our newly remapped look button, walk to the edge. Then press the right bumper and move the analog stick back at the same time and Lara will do a perfect tap backwards. Again, that's why we remapped the button, as I feel when you hold a controller, it's easier to do that than pressing the right analog stick while also moving the left one, especially on a PlayStation controller. Quick save is now enabled. At any time in Tomb Raider 4 and 5, if you quickly want to save the game, press the menu inventory button and the right analog stick. This also avoids you accidentally loading a game instead of saving it. If you wish Tomb Raider 1 to 3 had a quick save, if you followed my button remap instructions, pressing the right analog stick on its own will enable quick save in 1 to 3. Crawling is also another issue that some players may have in Tomb Raider. Press the left bumper to crouch. This puts Lara on her knees, and in this position allows Lara to shoot while crouching, useful in stealth combat situations if an enemy hasn't detected her. When Lara descends further to her hands and you're able to move her around, to stand back up you first need to press the left bumper to move Lara back up on her knees, then press the left bumper again to stand back up. So when crawling, you need to think of it as 2 moves rather than 1, as there are 2 different poses for the character. A more serious issue is getting out of a crawl space. While you will discover on your own Lara can flip out, sometimes you don't want that. While on tank controls it's easy to safely climb out, on modern controls it's much harder as moving back on the analog stick will make Lara turn towards the camera. To get Lara to climb out of a crawl space carefully, do the following. Position Lara so her bum is facing towards you. Then hold the walk button. With the walk button held down, carefully guide Lara back towards the edge. Then press the right trigger button for Lara to safely pull herself down. If you miss the on-screen instructions, to actually make Lara swing on a rope, press the left trigger. And when you're ready to jump off, press the right trigger. If the rope is acting crazy and you want it to behave, climb up to the top of the rope, then climb down to the bottom of the rope, and it should settle down. If you want Lara to swing the furthest distance possible, make sure she's hanging at the very bottom of the rope. The big challenge with the rope swinging you will face is when you need to jump on multiple ropes. It isn't about angling Lara towards the next rope, it is making sure that when you're swinging on the current rope, that it's swinging in the right direction. If your axis is off and she's swinging more in parallel, you will never reach the second rope. The general rule of thumb is to do a quick save if you see a rope ahead of you. These are tricky. For the fireman pole, remember that if you want to jump off, Lara can only jump backwards, so face Lara's back towards your destination rather than looking straight at it. As for swimming, this is an odd one I found myself covering, but I got an alarming amount of comments from people who didn't know how to get out of water. On the surface, press R2, RT or ZR to climb out. As for swimming efficiently, keep the camera behind Lara and point the camera in the direction you wish to swim. Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation features Lara Croft's 2 most iconic vehicles, the Jeep and motorbike, both even being featured in all of her movies. When it comes to driving the Jeep, press the right trigger to accelerate. If you want to reverse the Jeep, hold the left trigger to turn Lara back, then at the same time press the right trigger to reverse. Let go of the left trigger when you're finished reversing and Lara will turn forward, allowing you to drive forward. The motorbike controls are similar but have an added twist. Accelerating is the right trigger. Pressing the left trigger will make Lara use her feet to push the motorbike backwards. Without giving any spoilers, there will be a mission for Lara in this section that will eventually unlock a secret third function of the motorbike called the boost mode. I am mentioning this as many of you are likely not going to realize this. You will know it when the motorbike has this feature. To activate the boost, be sure to press the jump button when on the motorbike to activate it. You will know it's working as it will activate Lara's sprint meter, except in this situation it's referring to the sprint meter of the motorbike, so to speak. Sprinting is done at any time in the game by pressing the left analog stick while running. While sprinting, press the jump button to do a roll. If you're in danger and need to sprint and crouch, press the duck button instead of jump and she will end crouched. My last 2 useful tips is to quickly draw a flare, press the inventory/menu button and the right bumper. If you want to crawl quicker, on her knees, press the roll button and she will quickly roll forward. A big change in Tomb Raider 4 that not a lot of people realise is The Last Revelation was one of the first games to have an implementation of an open world. The first levels are linear, but once you get to Karnak in Egypt, the game design changes, and it's much more in your favour to think about the game from then on as locations, rather than linear A to B levels. This is particularly important if you played Tomb Raider 1 to 3 methodically, under the assumption that if you find a key, it must be for a door somewhere. In The Last Revelation, that is no longer the case. You could find a key in one tomb that is for a door in a completely different tomb, a loading screen or 3 away. The game isn't difficult, but if you don't realise this, you may get frustrated. The Chronicles section should be easy enough for you to complete alone, but after a train ride to Alexandria, be sure to regularly visit Lara's friend Jean-Yves, as he can give you clues on where to go next if you're not sure.
More information? Oui? I believe some of the armor could be here in the town. A local collector had a small exhibition and was rumored to own a piece. Perhaps this would be the place to begin.
Once you get to Cairo, the open world difficulty is further increased and you won't have a friend to help. Fortunately for you, this is where Lara's equipment comes in handy, as these open world sections can get more confusing. In the inventory, Lara has a compass that tells you the direction you're pointed in. If you discover an important area or landmark, take note of what direction it is with the compass. If you get lost in some tunnels, sometimes the easiest thing to do is point Lara in the direction of that landmark to find your way back. Likewise, the binoculars aren't just in her inventory for decoration. The binoculars have a night vision mode that will illuminate dark areas, even when zoomed in. I'm trying to give you hints without spoilers, but trust me when I say you will need this to solve some puzzles. Weapons in Last Revelation now have multiple ammo types, which can help you a lot. We all know canonically the shotgun is the most powerful weapon in any video game, however we also know it's the slowest. If you're trying to take down a fast moving boss enemy, try the wide shot ammo. It's less powerful but has a much wider range. Likewise, if you find yourself struggling to aim the crossbow, an explosive arrow can take down multiple targets in one go. Also a hint. The grenade launcher has a multi-projectile mode that is also handy if you find yourself swarmed by enemies, but do note that if a grenade ricochets back at Lara, she can take damage. Lara can interact with the environments in ways she couldn't in 1 to 3. Lara actually has over 445 animations in Last Revelation. No other PlayStation 1 character or even Mario comes close to that amount. This means she has a lot of ways to interact with the environment. The bad news is that she may only ever do these things once or twice, and you might not realize this. Some may consider these tips light spoilers, so do feel free to skip over, but I feel I'm saving you some heartbreak. Lara can kick down some doors, use the door handle of others, or push a set of double doors open. If you have a crowbar, Lara can pry into some doors. Lara now has a fire torch, which she can use to set things on fire. That might seem obvious. What might not be so obvious is that includes smoke alarms. Lara can open trapdoors, but you can't see what side the trapdoor hinges on, so be sure to try activating it from all 4 sides, and don't stand on top of the trapdoor when trying this. Underwater, Lara can now force open some doors if they are not tightly shut. Approach Tomb Raider like a Dark Souls game and give it that respect and you're sure to succeed. Control-wise, everything I just mentioned is the same for Tomb Raider 5 Chronicles. However, this is a much easier game, and in some ways very modern, as it's very focused on the vibe, and there's as much cutscenes as there are gameplay. To a lot of classic fans, this game showcases Lara's personality the best, and fan favourite characters return like the LGBT cowboy couple Pierre and Larson.
You is one clever cookie, boss.
Comparatively, yes. Come, let's get off this roof, and I will buy you a milkshake.
Unlike 4, this does not have an open world and is far more linear, so don't expect to struggle too much. That said, Chronicles does have unique quirks. If you find adult Lara without weapons in Chronicles, a big hint is that other items in her inventory may be used as a weapon, like a crowbar or even chloroform. Speaking of weapons, there's no point saving your ammo. The stories in this game are episodic from different time periods in Lara's life, and your weapons will reset each time. You're likely to struggle the most in the final New York chapter. In this section, the grappling gun refers to the ability to shoot ropes in select areas. Be careful with your HK ammo as the bullets are limited, and while ammo will respawn to prevent soft locking, this ammo can often be very hard to find, making you feel like you've been soft locked if you run out. Work on your laser sight aim and strive for headshots. To save you heartache, in New York there is also ceiling hatches. This is one of my favourites in the franchise because of the Ireland section, which has an incredible horror atmosphere. The Angel of Darkness gets its own section of the video. It isn't a difficult game, but this does have some questionable design decisions that no remaster in the world was ever gonna fix. Unlike all the explaining I was doing for the Last Revelation, Angel of Darkness is actually very straightforward and linear, and no button control remapping is needed. Lara is also equipped with a journal that will tell you what the current objective and mission is, and clues on how to solve some puzzles. When the icon appears on screen, be sure to read the updated journal. Lara jumps like she's still on the grid system like I showed you earlier, but the environments themselves aren't on the grid system, and that's the key issue. Everything looks far more modern, but it may be more difficult to interpret if you can make a jump or not because there's no more symmetry in the environment. In modern games you play today, game developers get around this by placing attractors on ledges. meaning when you jump in a modern video game, the character is magnetized to a ledge, quite like metal and an MRI machine in a hospital. Unfortunately, they were unable to add this magnetization or attractors in the remaster. The solution? Saving often and making good guesses based on how Lara jumped for you in the past will go a long way. Make sure you play with modern controls. Don't even bother with the tank controls for this game in particular, because it is what got everybody fired 22 years ago. If you remapped the controls for Tomb Raider 4 like I told you to, go into control settings and restore the defaults for Angel of Darkness. When you load a new game, the tutorial level makes for a bad first impression. If you feel the controls aren't responsive, it's because the game developers left in a questionable design decision that when the tutorial is explaining controls, it will lock Lara's movement. This is particularly frustrating as most players will read the text and then attempt to press the relevant button on their controller and not get any feedback. Wait for the text to disappear and then Lara can be moved again. You can press circle, B or A to dismiss the text, but be careful where you do that or this may happen. The point is just to get past the tutorial level and then the controls will feel much better. Like in the other Tomb Raider games, you need to keep the camera behind Lara at all times for success. It's made easier this time around by simply pressing the right analog stick and that will reset the camera. For the launch version of this game, if you have trouble interacting with elevators or keypads, the developers haven't fixed the control scheme, so interacting with these buttons will be using the jump button, not the interact button. Do note that this will likely be fixed in the future. When moving a crate, pressing the interact button alone won't give you feedback. Unlike Tomb Raider 1 to 5, she doesn't assume a new stance. To actually move the crates, you need to press the interact button and the direction you wish to move the crate. Lara can perform hand-to-hand combat if you run out of bullets, and this has actually been massively improved. When encountering a guard, press right trigger to begin fighting by throwing punches. While punching, add in the jump button and Lara will start kicking before doing a powerful roundhouse kick. If you still struggle with hand-to-hand combat, worry not, as this game is littered with ammo now that you can buy ammunition in shops, and I'll explain that in a moment. Your biggest friend in this game is the quick save. At any point in the game, press the inventory button and the right analog stick at the same time and the game will perform a quick save. And lastly, like classic Tomb Raider, the walk button is your best friend. Even on the most volatile catwalk, with the walk button held down, Lara will not fall off even if you try to force her. Holding the right trigger while running means even if you accidentally run over a ledge, Lara will grab it on the way down. Using right trigger is also a great way to safely climb down the edge of a platform. Master these tricks and you'll fly through Angel of Darkness as the controls have massively improved. Lara has a new moveset that shouldn't be overlooked. In the tutorial level, Lara will teach you how to commando crawl. Take time learning this, as you will need to use it in a later level when breaking into the Louvre Museum in Paris and doing your own interpretation of entrapment to guide Lara under lasers. In addition, if you climb the roof in the tutorial, Lara will actually mention being able to hop. While you might wing it on this occasion with a regular jump, actually stop and take time to practice your short hops. It may seem meaningless now, but oh you wait honey, the Hall of Seasons await you. Big jumps are not going to help you there, so take my advice and put short hops on your gym curriculum. In Angel of Darkness, your bullets are limited, so be sure to do stealth takedowns or melee combat when possible. As for the RPG skill progression, it's very rudimentary. It doesn't make the game any more difficult. When Lara mentions feeling stronger, her strength has increased, and more importantly, you will need to take advantage of this in the area. It isn't like a typical RPG where you may need to use it in a few hours. It's very likely that there's something in the immediate area that you weren't able to do before, but now that her strength has increased, can do it now. In the first tutorial level, that's shimmying. If Lara says she's feeling stronger now, in addition to having Britney Spears on her Spotify, she's really referring to her overall stamina, meaning she can shimmy on a ledge longer or, for example, push a really heavy statue. What you need to carefully listen out for is when Lara mentions that her legs feel stronger. When Lara mentions her legs feel stronger or that her lower body strength increased, what she really means is that she unlocked a new move. In the game, when she first mentions it, she's really telling you she's unlocked the ability to jump further. When she mentions her legs are stronger again, she could be referring to being able to sprint. If she mentions it again in the future, she could easily be referring to doing a sprint jump. In other words, listen carefully, and if she mentions her legs, experiment and notice if there's any changes in her athletic ability or moveset. A big change in the remaster is that the programmers were able to flesh out the bartering system the original game developers couldn't. While you might be tempted to rush through the opening levels of the game to finally raid some tombs, take time to explore Paris and find as much money as possible. Lara left the Visa card at home, but this cash can be used to buy weapons, ammo, and medical supplies from the herbalist and pawn shop. When you eventually start raiding tombs, you will have to solely rely on lucky pickups and won't be able to go shopping. So take the time to do retail therapy when the opportunity arises. In addition to finding money, you can also try to gain a few extra bucks by gambling in a boxing match. For the best outcome, save your game before placing your bet. And that's about it. I love the classic Tomb Raider games. I unfortunately think with modern audiences demanding standardized control layouts in every action-adventure game, we won't ever get games like these again. These games have always captured my imagination, as they are really the only games in history where every button on the controller moves Lara in a different way, and that just gets part of my brain going in a way that no other action game can. This may sound controversial, but you shouldn't really control Lara like a typical male character. Lara is a gymnast, and you need to move her like a gymnast. My favourite example for this is if you see a dinosaur, you don't turn your back to it and run away like a typical male character. You pull out those guns, shoot and backflip. These games are very Souls-like. Once you find yourself in a boss battle, you either kill it or you die. I hope you have a lot of fun with these remasters. Keep safe and well, and enjoy raiding.